Fernando's. Bruno Fernandes got taken off. He said he was tired. Oh. Well, he didn't, but the manager did.
So it finished Nottingham Forest 3, Manchester United 2. This is what Ruben Amorim had to say after the game.
We already knew it. It will be a long journey, but we want to win. Because this is a massive club and you feel it when you lose one game, it's really hard for everybody. And I can understand that. I can feel it in the stadium after the first goal. I had this and worst in Sporting in the beginning. I know the feeling, for me, it's the same. For the world, it's completely different because you know Sporting in Portugal. But Manchester, you have a lot of attention. But for me, it's the same feeling. I had this period in Sporting, and if you are a little bit experienced in football, this happened with a lot of clubs, and we have to manage to continue to do the same things in improving the team because this will turn around. So we need time and we need to continue to work in the same way every day.
A lot of work then to do. Manchester United currently sitting 13th in the table on 19 points. Frank Leboeuf watches for us, Craig as well. Craig, what went wrong today?
Well, it's not really a surprise, is it? You know, United losing games. What he did in Portugal, that's Portugal. Portuguese League and Premier League, apples and oranges. Standards completely different. So just because it worked there isn't necessarily mean it's going to work here. What he's seen in his early period here is that we know he's a good coach. We know he wants to play a certain way. But he's got a bunch of players who were primarily Erik Ten Hag signings who are not going to get him on this journey that he talks about to the end point. They're just not. And the owner, or the investor, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, has been given some interviews in the last 48 hours basically saying, we're pretty garbage. And our recruitment's been terrible and our data analysis has been terrible, and this is the situation we're in. Well, let me just say, his Ineos have been a small part of that by signing players in the summer, not to go over old ground, that they knew they were going to sack Erik Ten Hag, and this is then where it leaves the manager. In terms of the game, once Forest go ahead with that header from the 6'5" centre-half, Forest actually played, Man United actually played okay. Not brilliant, they played okay in the first half, passed it reasonably well. But in the second half, they just got completely opened up. And when they're open, you know, Forest could have killed them off, even before Fernandes almost got them back in the game. But this really isn't a surprise. This is not on the coach. He's going in there, he's finding out the problems that were mainly from Erik Ten Hag, but also from some previous managers and some recruitment. And he can try and work on it all he wants in the training ground, and it might get a little bit better, but there's a shelf life in terms of where this group of players are going to be able to take him. And ultimately, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe has said, and if you're a United fan, you won't want to hear this, he said it's going to take years.
Right.
He said it's been so bad, and the money's been so poorly spent, that it's going to take years. So this is not about a bad coach or a new coach. This is about players that have been tried and tested before and mainly failed, not been good enough. And we're going to see this sort of roller coaster for this club and this manager all the way through until he can start making changes in the transfer market.
Do you agree, Frank?
I do agree. I think it's going to be a long process because we realize now that it's not all about the coach. It's about a team who is not the mirror of what the club represents. It's a big, huge club, but it's a small team. The players showed their limits. They're getting a little bit better in some action. The 2 goals that they scored was pretty nice to watch. And the first half was very nice. I would say pretty nice. But the second half, it's like they're not in a good shape. They're not strong enough physically, and they cannot handle the pressure even against Nottingham Forest, with all due respect. So it's going to be a hard season. It may be another hard season after that one because they're not ready. Because as Craig mentioned, they will have to change players. What I didn't like from Ruben Amorim today is like as soon as they conceded 2 goals in the second half, he started to change everything. Sometimes you have to make the players suffer, use their pride in order maybe to come back. he decided to let it go and say, oh, we're going to change the team and the shape of the team. I didn't like that because you don't force the player to react. And those players, they are maybe limited, might be limited, but they maybe have a pride who can change things. But if you give up too early, after 55 minutes, for me, it's a little bit too soon. So, yeah, lots of work for the coach. He tries to find some solutions. It's going to be hard because, again, and as Craig mentioned, some players are not good enough to play for Manchester United.
In some ways, it is about the coach, but not this coach, the previous one, because he pushed a lot of these players. He knows.
Right.
He's worked with. He knows some from Holland, some not, and he pushed for them. You know, people like Anthony, and you know, you got to imagine. He's got his fingerprints, Ten Hag, on Joshua Zirkzee and Mason Mount when he came in, because they really pushed for Mason Mount. De Ligt at the back. I mean, Amorim took De Ligt off because he said they wanted to have somebody that could win the headers, and brought on Harry Maguire. De Ligt's one of the biggest defenders around. But can't he get off the ground? I mean, it's worrisome. And I hope for this coach that, you know, he has some decent input into who's going to be coming in, because what he's working with at the moment is most of the previous managers' signings. Lisandro Martinez, there's another one. The list goes on, who are just not going to be good enough for this football club. So, yeah, it's going to be, where are we now? It's going to be January. Do they do it? Can they do anything in January? Can they get some of them out? Can they get some fresh faces in? I agree with Frank saying I don't think they can. But then they have to wait to the summer. You said the table, they're sitting in 13th. I mean, they won't finish there. They're probably going to finish in the top half. That's saying something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talking about Man United finishing in the top half. But this is it's going to be such a long process, because big money signings, not good enough, big salaries. Let's be honest, none of the elite clubs really want a lot of these players. You know, the Marcus Rashfords of this world, nobody could trust him. Nobody want to pay him the kind of money that he's on, for him to saunter around feeling sorry for himself. So there's a lot I feel sorry for this guy, in the sense that it is going to be a long process, and he's going to get a lot of these questions, and most of it's not going to be his fault. Some of it might be, most of it not. But you got to feel that he's going to be answering a lot of these press conferences and questions in a very similar vein most weeks at the moment, because lepers do not change their spots.